Do I have any tips for creating a compelling villain slash antagonist? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. I do think it is worth noting at the top here that a villain and an antagonist are not necessarily the same thing. I do not think this commenter was conflating the two. I think she was just more like tips for either or both. I'll take whatever you've got. But a lot of people use these terms as if they are interchangeable, and they aren't technically. An antagonist is somebody whose goals are at cross purposes with your protagonist. This does not necessarily mean that they are bad or evil or doing anything wrong. I give the example all the time of if we're looking in romances, and an antagonist is often just the male love interest's current girlfriend. She hasn't done anything wrong. She just happens to be in a relationship with the guy who's supposed to be with somebody else, right? So she's not a villain. She's not bad. She's not evil. She just happens to be in the way. Ferris Bueller is the protagonist of his story, and his antagonist is just a principal who thinks these kids should be in school on a school day. Now, you can make some arguments about whether or not that principal crosses over into some villainous behavior over the course of the story, but at the beginning, he's not a villain. He's just a guy doing his job. So a villain is an antagonist, usually an antagonist who is doing something bad, who is doing something evil, who needs to be stopped. You can have someone who is cast in the role of a villain who is actually doing the quote-unquote right thing, like Javert from Les Miserables, or you can have somebody who is an antagonist who is doing some bad things but wasn't actually really a bad guy, was just like trying the best that he could given the circumstances that he's got. And so this is how you get someone like Aaron Burr in Hamilton. You can have some really compelling villains that you're like, you know what, you're doing this the wrong way, but I see where you're coming from. Like in Black Panther, we've got some villains who are pretty justified with what it is that they're upset about. But no matter what you are doing as far as a villain or an antagonist or someone along the spectrum of either of those things, the best way to make them compelling is to remember that every single character is the protagonist of their own story. It just isn't the story you're reading right now. So a protagonist grows and changes over the course of the story, and your villain or your antagonist is also going to grow and change, but in all the wrong ways. They are going to fail at the end of their story, probably, but you are having them go through their own story. It's just not all going to necessarily be on the page. It can be helpful for you to write that backstory out, knowing that most of it does not make it into the novel. You might even write the whole story, kind of bare bones and not as detailed, from that villain or protagonist point of view. Whatever it is they are doing, they think they are right to do it. Even if you, objectively sitting where you are, can say, well, this is selfish and evil and it's going to destroy a whole bunch of things for a lot of people, they have their reasons. They believe that what they are doing is the right thing for whatever their reasons are. Their priorities are different than yours, and their priorities are probably super out of whack. But they have priorities, they have reasons. They think they are doing the right things for the right reasons, and they are on a journey to try to succeed at the thing that is important to them. Some of the least compelling villains that you can think of are probably in like kids' cartoons, in which you can say, what is their motivation? It's that they want to rule the world, but they're going to destroy it to do that. So they will rule over ashes, I guess. Or they want to be in charge for the sake of being in charge, and they don't have any plan with what they're going to do once they're in charge or how they're going to get there. They just want power for power's sake without any other additional plans beyond that. Remember that your antagonist is at cross purposes with your protagonist, and any good villain or antagonist is the hero and protagonist of their own story.